Yo, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition of CWS WWE Breakdown. I'm your host, Zachary Chavy, joined by one of my co-hosts, Christian Whitehead. What's going on, brother?
Life is going on. Okay. Yeah, let's get into it. Clash in Italy. Let's go. I'm hyped.
Yeah, obviously our last video was our Clash and Italy predictions, and you both saw how passionate we were, how positive we thought the show was going to be as a whole, and it still necessarily delivered. All matches were great, but just me and Chris are both in agreement, I think, on this. The results are what we kind of have in question about, especially what began the show and what's ended the show, to say the least. So, but before we get into it, Chris, I want to ask you this. One thing you liked about Clash in Italy and one thing you didn't like about Clash in Italy.
One thing I liked about Clash in Italy will easily be the best time of the night, the showstopper of the night, shows why overseas crowds are the best, shows why the future Hall of Famer needs his flowers, shows why this whole rivalry is the best thing in WWE right now. Clash in Italy, Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi. I don't care about what the outside people have to say. Oh, this match made no sense. Oh, they shouldn't have had Brock win. Oh, there was a no. This whole thing right here is peak cinema entertainment. There's no issues I have with it. Brock Lesnar came out, the crowd was singing his song. His song has no lyrics! His song has no lyrics! And the crowd was bumping his song, and even Brock Lesnar acknowledged. He started dancing. No lyrics, going crazy. Building was freaking shaking. Then you have Oba Femi come out. The reason I'm bringing up the entrances and everything is because you feel it. That's what WWE is about. You want to feel the emotion. You want to feel the match. You don't want to just have people come out and you don't care. That's why entrance music is a huge deal, by the way. The match was great. It was better than the first one. I only expect the third one to be even better, to be the most climactic thing ever, okay? And the only way to do this is to do Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar in the main event of night 1 or night 2 of SummerSlam. I'm actually now leaning towards night 1, okay? And you have Oba Femi go over and formally, officially send Brock Lesnar into the sunset in the greatest final match that it's going to be insane, okay? Should be more than 5 minutes, should be more than 10 minutes. It should be a 20 to 25 minute banger, and we never see Brock Lesnar again. And that's how you end it. And then you can start building Oba Femi and putting him in more main event rivalries to eventually get him to win a title in 2027. The WWE Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship. That's where he needs to go. Don't give me United States Championship. Don't give me Intercard. Straight to the big card. And I think I changed my mind about that, but that's where I stand now. And that's what I'll say about that. What I didn't like about Clash in Italy. I would say the Cody versus Gunther match felt a little flat to me because of the ending. I thought the match was cool. I thought it was a great match. And I think they could have done a little bit more with it. And had Gunther pick up the victory. Because I feel like with the way they ended it, with Gunther, his foot was on the rope, but the ref didn't see it. To me, it still makes him look weak. You just had him retire Goldberg. You just had him retire John Cena. You just had him retire the phenomenal AJ Styles. You just had him beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. All of these victories, by the way, were hard victories. It wasn't like, oh my goodness, it wasn't like he cheated. Hard victories, for the most part. So then you put him up against Cody Rhodes, QB1, woo! And you have his, where's the story going from here? Are we soon going to get Gunther as the champion? If that's the case, then fine. If that's where they wanted to go with this, and that's how they wanted to get there, fine. But if we're going to conclude, if we're doing all this to just have Cody win and then Gunther, this is the last thing I'll say. If Cody wins this rivalry, you've buried Gunther, and there's going to be a hard point of return because you can't keep. It's crazy. Give Gunther the title. He deserves it, and the way you've been building him, he needs to win. Because once he loses against Cody Rhodes, where does he go? What does he do? Exactly. So that's what I'll say. That's what I disliked and what I liked in large detail.
I like what you used for both. I'll get more into what you like when we actually get to the match because I have a lot I want to say about that and what can be built off of that. But I'll just jump right into what you dislike because that was the first match of the night. I think the steam, you can't say, I think it's already been lost. Because you think about it, leading up to it too, Gunther was attacking all that kind of stuff, and then even to the point where like they had to switch his narrative from the favor being to Cody Rhodes to Brock Lesnar because Brock Lesnar didn't even want to face his ass. He didn't even see him as a reasonable opponent to retire him. And that's Brock Lesnar for crying out loud, who's giving Oba Femi this massive push. A guy, when you know Brock Lesnar believes in someone, then this is a guy you have for the taking and you guys can elevate him. He doesn't even believe that in Gunther, who's been in the WWE longer, who's had long title reigns, has been an established guy in this company, and Brock Lesnar chose Oba Femi kind of over Gunther in a way like that. So it started from there. And then what do you even mean? Like, this is what I'm frustrated about. The match was just starting to get good between Gunther and Cody, and you end it like that. Gunther was avoiding the Cody cutter all match, and then he finally gets hit with then the crossroads, and then the ref doesn't see it. Like, the ref literally should be looking for the foot. And I'll just bring it into the next match. We had two instances there where the foot was put on the rope, and the ref saw it clear as day, and the ref couldn't see this one. It should be an immediate break, and it just doesn't. I think we talked about it in the last episode, how losing Gunther, this might be worse than him actually taking a real pin. Realistically so, because now you transition to Friday Night SmackDown. He looks like a whiny bitch trying to complain for another championship match. I don't mind continuing this feud, but under better terms would have kept this more interesting. I think it's close to being flatline. This is the flatline. This is it right here. One more bump down the road. Cut it. It's over. Gunther, you might as well go back for your Intercontinental Championship or the United States Championship. That's the way I see things because they've had steam with a guy like him. Because if you think about it, Randy Orton kind of had the same gimmick. He did all that, and then that's what got him his starting up evolution, winning the championships. That was a career elevator. This is a career lower ship, whatever you want to call it. I can't think of the word, but like a career downgrade for Gunther. Instead of him getting elevated because of this, he's getting downgraded and made look like a whiny bitch because he didn't lose clean, which makes no sense. This is gonna be a common theme throughout this episode. WWE is getting lazy. They don't want to experiment new things, and we talked about it. We at least wanted to see one title change. The one we got, I'm fine with, but you can't tell me you can't switch the title over one of your May Carters, one of the top championships, for a month or two, and then just give it back to the other person at SummerSlam and let them have their own feud. What issue is in there that you could experiment new things and actually get the crowd excited in what you have in store for that period of time just to give it back to the other championship? That's what I have to say about that match. The match was just starting to get good, and they cut it short like that because both performers work well with each other. The crowd was starting to get it, and then you flatline it with that ending. The crowd has every right to just not care about it and honestly be pretty upset that they have to pay for that piece of crap to open the show. And most of all, it was on ESPN, so I thought they would cut more into the Rhea Jade match. That match was 10 times better than this piece of crap thrown out there because it was just, it's like you get a brand new car and stuff like that, and it's starting to work well, and you forgot to get the one thing, and then that one thing comes up, and that one you get a new car, but it has a small little issue, and you're just like, we won't fix it. Then the issue comes up, and then it just goes into pieces, blow into pieces. So. I know that was a lot, but that's just how I feel.
That was a good analogy too of the car. No, brother, I totally agree. The crowd was just getting into it, and they ended it like that. It's not good. I will say, I agree with you. Gunther's pretty much already kind of lost his thunder. They should definitely experiment. with new top guys. It's been the same top guys for the last 5 years. Okay, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. Now, CM Punk hasn't been back in the WWE for 5 years, but you get the point, right? I say all this to say, not to get too much in the other match, but like we said before, more things could have came out if you had Jacob Fatu win. But I'm going to save you that because I have a feeling I know why they decided to have him acknowledge Roman Reigns at this point in time. So I'll leave that there. But getting back to Cody Rhodes and Gunther, I don't know where they're going with this in terms of the winner of this feud, but I do know that to save Gunther and his degrading, downgrading, fall off the mountain time right now, they need to have him beat Cody Rhodes. And like we've all acknowledged, Cody Rhodes is better when he's chasing or when he's not in a championship feud than when he is. Because when he is, it's more dull and boring and more we know the outcome when he's the champion for the most part. And
I'm
again,
just gonna interrupt you real quick.
please.
When Cody's the champion, we know he ain't losing on a B tier PLE. He's losing on a SummerSlam or at WrestleMania.
And it shouldn't
so
be
predictable.
like that. He should lose on a B tier to the shock factor. Shock factor. What was the word of last episode? Unpredictability. Bro, that would be like you should have had him lose at Clash in Paris. And then everybody would have went crazy. You would have had a bigger reaction, more views, more this. Instead, you flatline it, have Cody, whatever. But the match was cool. I think it was a solid start. Could have been a little bit longer, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad at all.
Absolutely. I don't think the overall match was bad. It's just they ended so short, so it left us with so much to be desired. And worst of all, it's not even like we got a shock factor of a new champion.
Right.
So, but we'll move on from that to the next match that was on the second hour of ESPN that was 10 times better, honestly delivered on every aspect. In my opinion, was better than their WrestleMania match, which I didn't have high hopes going into. Now with the expectations, they delivered on top of it even more. Obviously, we're talking about the Women's Championship, Rhea versus Jade. And now I can understand where Chris was coming from that. From what I came from my vantage point, you got to look at it this way. For me, I thought their build up to their feud was complete dog crap. It was their
build up was sucky.
It was, but their match actually delivered. So, but now I didn't know that going into WrestleMania, like a lot of other fans didn't. So that's why there were so low expectations. But then when they got the opportunity to put it on a broad stage, they delivered, and they did it even more in this one. The only thing I will have to say, the only negative part I have about this match is B-Fab almost messing up.
Same thing.
Like, bro, like, how do you mess that up? I'm sorry, I know it's a high-pressure situation, but you got to know when your cue is. And I honestly think if she wasn't in a faction right now or anything, or she was just helping Jade, that might have been a fireable offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's obviously not going to happen. But still, you can't mess that up when you literally have a spot in the match and she, like, almost with missing the leg, and the ref even had to slow down the count a little bit more.
It was a big spot in the match, and you botched it. Now, I'm not one to crazy talk about the performers because, listen, I'm not a WWE superstar, but it's like you got to make sure
you knew what your cue was to do that, and you got to be more prepared for that. It's almost like the time clock in her mind just went up. Oh snap! I got to do this.
Right.
So, but just let me ask you this, Chris: what in this match do you think really stood out to you?
Ooh. Jade Cargill. I think we all, as WWE fans, the IWC, the wrestling community, whatever you want to call us, we have to do a better job of giving credit where credit is due, despite people's personal feelings towards that wrestler or character. Jade Cargill again. We give Rhea Ripley her flowers too. Great. Jade Cargill again has put on another amazing match against Rhea Ripley And it's clear that it's not just Rhea Ripley carrying her throughout these matches. It is both even. They are both doing their thing. Jade Cargill, despite her mic skills, Jade Cargill, despite how maybe some fans think she's arrogant or whatever, Jade Cargill put on another classic, and she deserves credit and her flowers. Okay? She's slowly rising into a great wrestler. Okay? Now, obviously, I want to see how she does when we leave Rhea Ripley. I want to see how she does with these other feuds with different people. But that's what stood out to me, and how there's like it's good matches too, Zach, and it's fun, and the crowd's into it, and her selling's getting better. Everybody was on her for her selling. Her selling's getting better. So we need to all give Jade Cargill her credit where credit is due. Okay. I also think that eventually she needs to split away from B-Fab and Michin, because I feel like them two with her kind of, I don't know. It doesn't really do anything for me. I think she can be amazing as a solo heel. Okay. Um, and B-Fab and Michin are kind of just thrown in with her. To me, it gives her rivalries though, that kind of matchup where, before you get to her, you have to face them and stuff like that. But that's what stood out to me, and how them two just they work together so well. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
I understand your point of view on that aspect, but this is where I'm going to throw out a counter thing. This is the way I
Sure.
look at things.
Sure.
I would make more sense with them together, especially those two are going out to the tag titles. But at the same time, the missing component out of Jade and everything is her promo work. She still isn't a good promo worker. So at least to have the number games and like when she's losing a promo, they can just attack her. That's the only thing that I would say makes sense keeping them together as a faction. Because until she gets better as a promo, she's not going to be able to compete. Alexa Bliss, we talked about this, cooked her ass like that in a few seconds, just with a sentence, and she just doesn't have a response. She's just, I'm that bitch. Like she can back up her work in the ring, but she can't go toe to toe in a promo battle yet. It's that plain and simple. I go back and watch some of her stuff from AEW. She wasn't able to do it there either. So she obviously has a flaw when it comes to promo work. Until she gets better with that, it's going to be tough for her to be that, because she was a solo star, but you saw how that worked when she eventually had to put on promos. It was just weak. It was kind of dry. She needs to get better than that, and in order to do that, she just needs to get better. And having those two together with her, I think just hopefully can help her get better. Because if she doesn't have that, she's going to have the championships, but she's never going to be one of those top people that people consider all the time. Because she's going to be a great in-ring worker, but just not a good promo worker that can get I think promos give the excitement for matches. Even when the matches perform, you get another level of excitement when there's good promos being built. And for her to be able to learn and do that well is only going to make her matches look better and look her better as a top performer in this business.
I'm going to be honest with you. Out of all these episodes that we've recorded, that was probably my favorite point that you ever brought up. It was really good. That was probably your best one. That was really good. That was really good. Definitely. Because yeah, her promo work is very suspect. Very atrocious. And I will say, sometimes when she has promos, it makes me unexcited for her matches. Um, so that's a good point. What did you think, brother, about the match itself? What stood out to you?
I think what stood out to me is how these both performers work really well with each other after really not facing off a lot, and how their WrestleMania match elevated more to Clash in Italy than it did WrestleMania. Like, I got more excitement out of their Clash in Italy match than I did out of the WrestleMania match. And I think their counters too. Both of them are able to counter off each other's finishers pretty clean. Like Rhea's able to off the Jaded and then the Riptide Jade. Like, I think of one that really stood out is how Rhea's able to sell. Like when she took the I can't think what move it was, but she took one of the moves. I can't. You know what? I don't. Do you know what I'm talking about? She took like one of the moves. Like she sold it really hard. Like she kind of just like was like a flat body and just like I can't remember what move Jade used, but like that right there was just like how those two. One shows how great Rhea Ripley is, and then how she can make someone like Jade's moves look powerful and back to her character. So I just think how they're able to make each other's moves look good and how their counters off each other's moves look smooth and don't look out of place because it's not like they've not been practicing with each other. So that's what really stood out to me, how their chemistry has gotten better over only the span of having 2 matches with each other. Because think about it, Jade's been on the roster since WrestleMania 40. This is their first real encounter with each other and actually having one-on-one matches with each other. So
Correct. Yep.
yeah, but we'll see how things go from there. Obviously, we had a lot of things happen on SmackDown. Charlotte Flair came out, Tiffany Stratton came out, and stuff like that. I think what they're eventually leading us to is a triple threat at SummerSlam. I think my prediction right now, if 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 they're trying to run, because we've been hearing the rumors about Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan, if they're just trying to run that all the way to SummerSlam, I could very much see either Jade or Charlotte winning the Queen of the Ring. One of them choosing Rhea, and then one of them interfering in the match, making it a triple threat.
Got a question for you. I don't mean to go off of the grid too much, so it'll be quick. What do you think? What's your opinion on them running back Stephanie Vaquer versus Liv Morgan again? And do you think Raw has a women's division problem? Because I don't know what's going on. I'm going to let you answer, and I'll tell you why I asked that.
I don't think they have a women's division problem. I think they have a problem on where they're going to use these damn women. There's been plenty of opportunities for Liv Morgan to at least defend her title against one of these. Like, I've thrown out the name like barely. You can kind of throw her into any quick storyline and have a match there. Now that Becky Lynch, it sucks that Becky Lynch lost it at this point because they could have done something with her and Liv. But there's so many other people, and then we talked about this. It's to the point where Liv's kind of screwed over both of her Judgment Day girls and kind of used her as bodyguards. Where's the one of them eventually doing that face turn and wanting them to face Liv Morgan? Because Liv Morgan's just been able to get out of the short side, have her titles, not get the brunt of things. There's so many people on the women's roster side that they could have done with Liv Morgan in this time, and especially with the European crowds. Because not even has Liv Morgan defended her title, except for today in the Clash, or in the Queen of the Ring qualifying match. When has she actually been in a match? The last time I swear she's been in a wrestling match was the night after WrestleMania when she faced Sol Ruca. Other than that, she hasn't been in the ring. She's been walking around cutting promos. Where is her actually performing in the ring? Because she's our women's world champion. Rhea Ripley still performing in matches. She was at Saturday night's main event in a 6-man tag match, or 6-woman tag match, excuse me. Then she was at Clash in Italy. Like, she's still doing stuff there. And Liv Morgan, we talked about this. She's already big over in the Italy crowd. They could have just thrown anything, I swear anything together, and it would have got a huge crowd pop. Because it's not like they have a lack of women's performers. They just don't know what they want to use with them. They have so many people on there. And then it's another thing. It's like, we'll talk about this now. Or you give your point on why you feel how you, and then I also have to bring up a most important component of it all. Okay, I'll just say it. Why? Excuse my language. Why the actual fuck is she in the Queen of the Ring tournament? Like, why is she in there? I understand you haven't had her in matches, anything, but if she goes anything farther than the semifinals, there's an instant problem with that. Because she's the women's world champion. Rhea is already looking like she has her outlook to SummerSlam. A triple threat with Jade and Charlotte, which I'm completely fine with. I think that'd be great, and they're building the story like that. Charlotte's, I always say, death taxes and Charlotte Flair going after world titles. She's eventually going back to do that again, and then Jade and Rhea have had great chemistry. And we saw they ran a triple threat at SummerSlam last year, and that was a banger between Naomi, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley. So Rhea Ripley has the capacity to run a great triple threat match. Now, what do you do with Liv Morgan? If she somehow wins the Queen of the Ring tournament, who she's just going to be she's going to face herself? Is she just going to face herself at SummerSlam? Like, what problem? And then Stephanie Vaquer. They had some great promo work and stuff like that, but they left us with a sour taste with that 6-minute WrestleMania match. And I understand Stephanie Vaquer's been hurt, But look at all the people that are in this tournament that Liv could have faced. I'm just hoping for the best here. But if she somehow gets all the way to the finals and wins it, there's an instant problem with that. So that's why I'm frustrated on that part. Because I love Liv Morgan as a performer and what she can able to do. But they just have had her directionless right now. And that's where the issue lies. And until they fix it, it's just going to be a domino effect of problem after problem after problem.
I think that, first of all, I don't mind them putting Liv Morgan in the tournament. Here's why. First of all, I think her points, because she did, I think it was on the post show, she did bring up, I'm the champion, she wants it all, blah, 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 all this stuff. I don't mind it. From her perspective, it makes sense, okay, to join the tournament. Now, I don't think anybody really thinks she's going to win. But if she did, she would obviously be facing the champion on SmackDown. That could lead towards a double championship match. I don't want this to happen at all. This would be horrible. But I'm saying I think this is maybe what WWE is trying to put in our heads. She's obviously going to lose. So I don't see it as a problem. If there was a very big possibility that she wins this match, that she wins the tournament, that would be horrible. But I don't think she's winning at all, right? That's what I'll say. So I don't really have a problem with it in totality. I don't really think that's a big deal. Number two, I asked you the question about if you think the Raw women's roster is an issue. Because I have the roster pulled up right here on my right. And I believe it's a pretty big issue. And I don't really know how they're going to fix this issue without having a superstar shakeup like they used to do, or a draft. Right? Here's the Monday Night Raw's women's roster as it stands right now. Mind you, it's a shorter list than the SmackDown's roster. Just want to put that out there. Asuka, she's gone. She shouldn't even be on this list. She's gone. Bayley has been as just she's just there. I don't think people really look at her as a.
She's doing more in AAA than she's doing in WWE.
Okay. Becky Lynch, she's gonna be on a leave. When are we gonna see Becky Lynch again? Do we know?
She's in the match tonight.
She is?
Yeah.
Against who? She's in the tournament?
Yeah, it's her, Liv Morgan, Chelsea Green, and Alexa Bliss.
Who do you think is going to win that match?
I think it has to be Becky Lynch. I think Becky Lynch has to go to the finals.
What do you think the finals of the Queen of the Ring is going to be?
I think it's Io Sky and Raquel Rodriguez on the other side, and then Becky Lynch versus the winner of Charlotte, Jade. Trying to think of the other two. Slipping my mind. But the other two that are in that match versus whoever wins that one, I think the final four should be Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Raquel Rodriguez, Io Sky, and then have Io Sky versus Becky Lynch in the final.
So either way, our assumption is that the winner's going to face Liv Morgan.
And it has to be because Rhea Ripley already has a built-in program that can last the length of SummerSlam.
And I agree. So Stephanie Vaquer is totally out of this, right? Because we don't think she's going to return from injury before.
They waited too long with this, and like we've seen this formula before, literally with Liv Morgan. Mm-hmm. Rhea Ripley got hurt. They waited for her to come back, and they gave Liv Morgan absolutely nothing till that time, till SummerSlam. And although the match was great, then they extended it longer. And we almost had that feud for close to a year that had some bumps in the road. And Liv Morgan could have done so much more with her championship instead of just having to face Rhea Ripley 99% of the time.
Okay. Let me get back to my list. All right. So, then we have Ivy Nile of American Made. I'm sorry? Okay. Lyra Valkyria, I don't care. Don't bring up. Woo!
She's the other one in that Charlotte Jade match.
I don't care. I think Lyra Valkyria is gonna have such a time of actually getting over this hump that I feel like she's been in a hump for the past ever since she's joined the roster. Okay. I don't think that's not a championship main event guy right now.
I'm just gonna say this: ever since her feud with Becky Lynch, that elevated her up. Ever since the climax of that, it's taken her right back down.
Right back down. Okay, Maxine Dupree. Let's just stop there. Natty. Let's just stop there. I don't know if we're noticing the trend of this Raw roster. Then you have Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez. Them two, right now as built, like we said, until they actually do something with this rivalry with them and Liv Morgan, I don't see them as world championship contenders either, Zach. I don't see it. They cannot put them in a rivalry with Liv Morgan like that, and because then they're just gonna lose. Okay, so my point is here is I'm trying to scout out other contenders that will be able to take Liv Morgan's title besides Io Sky. Okay, because that's the only other, unless you're gonna give Becky Lynch the belt again, and have her. Now she hasn't had the championship in a minute, but unless you're just gonna redo that rivalry, Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan have had a storied rivalry, so we've seen that. Okay, so besides Io Sky and then another standoff with Stephanie Vaquer, who's really challenging Liv Morgan for the title? That's why my point was I feel like Raw has a women's division problem that they need to fix. And I'm not just saying that to say that. I'm saying that, Zach, because I'm looking at the SmackDown women's roster. Where is Jordan Grace? What? Jordan, I know she had a small injury. She had a small ankle injury, but she has not been used to the degree that she needs to be used. I would sit my ass down to watch a Jordan Grace versus Liv Morgan storied feud. What? Tell me when I'm telling lies. If they built Jordan Grace up, like that would be a great feud. Put her in there. What? Are you serious? Again, split up Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Split them up because they're both on SmackDown. Alexa Bliss, she might not put her on Raw, right? Split them up. Do something, right? I agree with you now. Eventually, I want to split up Paige and Brie Bella. Split them the hell up. Split them up. Okay? Put Paige, who's been gone for years, put Paige in the main event scene. That's a high level Paige versus Liv Morgan? What? Right? Let's get JC Jane rolling, Zach. JC Jane's on SmackDown. Mind you, I've named about maybe 5 guys on SmackDown's already better. It's not even close. SmackDown has too many people jumbled up. I feel like switch it up. I didn't even mention Tiffany Stratton. I didn't mention Nia Jax, who people despise, but I love Nia Jax. I didn't mention Jade Cargill. I didn't mention Rhea Ripley. I didn't mention split them up, right? And use them. Now you're having Blake Monroe come to SmackDown. Use her. Don't just let her go to waste. Use her, right? Especially, this is the time. Bianca Belair's not there. Naomi's not there. Use this, right? Let's go. That was my point. I went off on a tangent. I'm sorry. I just feel like the Raw women's division is very repetitive and the same. It's like, let's go, right? And I think that's another reason why they're struggling to have Liv Morgan just go into like a small feud for the time being, because we don't want to see Liv Morgan versus Bayley. I just don't. Me personally, because we know the outcome. Like, it's extremely well, right? That's what I would say. What do you think? Am I exaggerating too much? But I feel like it's now lopsided. And I don't want to see Stephanie Vaquer versus Liv Morgan again. I'm kind of done, even though we're going to see it because of the way they ended things. I don't know when we're going to see that, if it's before SummerSlam or after SummerSlam. I'm going to assume after. But that's what I would say. That's maybe Stephanie Vaquer cost Liv Morgan her title at SummerSlam. I don't know. I'm just trying to throw out possibilities. And then you can tell that story without the title, right? So that's all I'll say on that. And there needs to be some type of draft or shake up to even out the rosters, men and female.
I agree. I'm gonna leave it off on this. I think I agree with you. The lack of roster depth in Raw has become an issue. But then also, I'm gonna say that SmackDown and Raw kind of interconnect with each other. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of women on Raw that are stuck in storylines that could have been disconnected from and face Liv Morgan. I'm gonna die on a hill for this. You don't mean to tell me we could have a triple threat with all the Judgment Day girls at SummerSlam? That would be a banger of a match. I think. I talked about it all the way back at WrestleMania, but they've both Raquel and I think Roxanne have lost their steams. Raquel from the Royal Rumble, not doing anything off of that, and then Roxanne had the steam with Finn Balor when he was still on Raw. Didn't do anything with that. So I think they've lost the steam on that, but they had the opportunity to run a triple threat in some type of capacity or even a one-on-one, and it could have been a banger match because there's personal storylines built in that, and to show how Liv Morgan's kind of been manipulating both of them this entire time and made her their servants and like the bodyguards just so she can be protected at the end of the day. And she does it to the same, but it's like more often than not, Raquel and Roxanne are helping Liv win, while Liv is kind of interfering with those two winning. Because think about it, Raquel went out there on Monday night by herself and won the qualifying match to move on to the second round. So we'll move on from that because obviously there's a lot of layers to that to discussion, and we can go on days with that, and we'll see how as the summer goes on how things are going to be able to be built. Clash of Champions, the Saturday night's main event, and then eventually leading to SummerSlam and what they do with both women's titles. I think we both in agreement what they should do with SmackDown, but we kind of don't know what they're going to do with Raw. So now let's move on to it. Probably the greatest. It's whatever you want to call it. 6 or 7 minutes I've seen between two great performers in a long, long time. I don't care if he kicked out of 7 at 5s or anything like that. I don't think that hurts Brock Lesnar's stock. Brock Lesnar is a locked-in Hall of Famer the day he retires. This just makes Oba Femi look like a complete monster of a man and a perfect way to take his first loss. Obviously, me and you went back and forth leading up to WrestleMania. Oh, Brock should win this and stuff like that. And I thought Oba should win this, and then Oba won and stuff like that. And then we got the sudden retirement of Brock Lesnar. I would have been fine with ending it there. But what they've been able to do to extend this storyline and lead us to that eventual trilogy, I couldn't ask for anything more. This was a great match. It was exactly what it needed to be, especially it being the second match. Both guys look good. And oh my God, Oba Femi getting F5 through a table and getting up by like freaking Undertaker. Like he wasn't even affected. Midway through the count, just got up and walked right back into the ring. It was great. Pure cinema. And I couldn't ask anything more out of the match. It was great. And I'm already locked in. Sign me up. Night 1, night 2, main event, trilogy match. Brock Lesnar, Oba Femi. Doesn't need to be for anything. Just needs to be a pure wrestling match. A 15, maybe 20-minute match. I don't think Brock Lesnar, at his point of the career, he can put on a 25-minute match. 15, maybe 20 minutes tops for him. But still, I'm ready for the trilogy, and I'm ready for it to be a perfect end to one of the better storylines that WWE had in front of them. Took forever to finally put it to fruition, and now that they're seeing the results of how great it really is.
I have no issues with what you just said. The only thing I will say is that I think for his final match, he can put on a 20 to 25-minute match. It's Brock Lesnar. I feel like Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate. Okay? Yo, that would be tough if the American crowd starts doing that now. That would be fire. But I think the bigger question for me is because I totally agree with what you said. I have no complaints there. And this could be obvious too, but it's going to be, my assumption is going to be Oba Femi versus Seth Rollins in the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. My question there is, what do you think happens with that? Does Brock Lesnar come and interfere? Okay, since it's 1-1. Or what happens? I'll tell you my point of view. Brock Lesnar could either come and cost Oba Femi the match and come back and be like, hey, you're not that guy, blah, 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 it's 1-1, whatever. I don't know. But I think another route we can go, Brock Lesnar, we don't see it. Oba Femi wins the King of the Ring tournament, right? And instead of him asking for a championship match, he goes to Adam Pearce and says, hey, I don't want championship match. Give me Brock Lesnar. But this time, since he wanted to fake his retirement, this time I want it to be in the contract. If he loses, I want Brock Lesnar retired, gone now. I'm the ruler. The mountain that you cannot climb. Give me Brock Lesnar instead of the championship match. And we get Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi night 1. And that's how you put in the retirement portion of it. And that's and then there's banter and Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce going back and forth. What the heck? You can't do this. And that's how we get that. And then maybe, I don't know what happens with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Maybe they get there somewhere else. Maybe Roman Reigns does something else. I don't know. But I think that would be pretty cool. Like Oba Femi taking matters into his own hands when he can literally get a championship match, but instead he wants to beat down and take out Brock Lesnar. I think it would make sense. I think it would be cool because I feel like it could be kind of obvious, right? It's going to be Brock Lesnar it's going to be Oba Femi versus Seth Rollins at what, Night of Champions? No, King of the Ring. The King of the Ring. Is it the same? Is it the same? That's a different.
Yeah, I think we've been getting. I think it's just King and Queen of the Ring.
Yeah, King and Queen of the Ring. Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be them two in the main event. I feel like it might be obvious that, hey, Brock Lesnar might come out and attack. So I feel like that would be a pretty good alternative. What do you think? Maybe I'm crazy? That's what I'll say.
I will say, before I get anything, I just got to give you a round of applause. That was a great Oba Femi impression, man. Especially the point you started with him going up to Adam Pearce. That was on cue right there. I like that idea a lot, but I just don't think. I think, because let me ask you this: you say that scenario that's I have, I guess, like, not a flaw or anything, but like that. Let me ask you this about that whole scenario: do you not want Oba Femi to lose clean then? Do you think only way he loses is if Brock Lesnar interferes and Seth Rollins?
Yeah.
Okay. I just think
he hasn't taken a loss clean. Like even when it was him versus Cody Rhodes, it was a draw. Nobody lost. Like he hasn't taken a loss clean on the roster from what I'm not on NXT, on WWE. He hasn't taken a loss.
Yeah. Okay. No, I get what you're saying on that part. I just think the way I look at things is like, yes, that'd be cool for Oba Femi. I think rather than him cashing it in, we just get those two facing off, and then he still has that in the back pocket, and then Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins have their feud at SummerSlam, and then here comes Oba Femi the night after SummerSlam saying, I want to cash in on you, Roman, and that'd be pretty cool. But I think at the same time, I just think it makes the most sense. Like I like the idea a lot. I just think this is the one example where it needs to be cookie cutter. It needs to be simple. If it's Seth Rollins, Oba Femi, Brock Lesnar comes out, he interferes, costs Oba Femi the match. Right there, Oba Femi comes out the next night and says he wants Lesnar. They're going back and forth with each other. We actually get a real promo with them on the lead to SummerSlam. That's my bold prediction. And then Seth Rollins wins King of the Ring. We already saw it when he beat Braun Breaker. You know who he's going after and how personal that feud can become on the lead to SummerSlam. Because then Roman can come back. Because Roman isn't going to be on Raw this afternoon, but he's going to be on the Raw the next week. So he's going to have some appearances in June. When he comes back in July, and then here comes Seth Rollins. Rollins ain't scared of the bloodline. He's gone through the Vision at this point, although they have been disintegrated, whatever the heck you want to call it. And he built this Roman Reigns when he hit him in the back with the chair. So he was the start of this. I know it took years for it to eventually happen, but Seth Rollins doesn't hit Roman in the back of the chair. Who knows how longer the Shield goes on and what happens with Roman Reigns. So Seth Rollins knows how to manipulate, how to get in the mind of Roman Reigns. So that could be that's a whole feud within itself and how personal that is. So I just think, in that sense, I like your idea and the possibility of what it could lead and how cool that'd be, the shock factor, just not even cashing in on the championships, how much he just wants to kick Brock Lesnar's ass to do that. But I think this is the one instance where it's cookie cutter, and then literally your Night of Champions or your King and Queen of the Ring main event could lead to two main events on your biggest event of the summer in SummerSlam.
Understood. It's gonna be interesting because it's kind of funny because again, I don't know if Oba Femi just saw it after Brock Lesnar, or if it was Seth Rollins. Remember, if it was Seth Rollins that asked Oba Femi to, take care of Brock Lesnar so Seth can do his stuff. Because it's gonna be an interesting dynamic. Because I don't think they ever really gave us that answer. Like if Seth Rollins asked Brock Oba Femi, like I don't know. So I'm interested to see. And then it's gonna be Brock Lesnar costing Oba Femi. It's like ironic. It's crazy. It's a crazy um sort of thing going on. So it's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be them. It's this brother. This is the matchup of the summer. This is the matchup of the year. Okay, what? This is insane. The matchup of the year. The only other one that like what other thing would rival this year in terms of excitement, hype, peak? Match after match. This is the best thing of the year. So I'm excited for it. SummerSlam night one. I would do SummerSlam night one, Brock versus Oba. We see Brock into the sunset. That's a crazy ending to the first night. Second night, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Main event, World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins takes the win, but we're way ahead. But that's what I'll say. It's gonna be great.
Okay. And I want to when you talk about how it's been the greatest thing, like obviously I haven't been. I'm just gonna throw. I haven't been invested out to like maybe talk about this, but a lot like especially how the climax of the mass versus mass match ended and how great that match was, and people thought the build was that pretty cool. But that's like I was invested in that, but I will agree with the Oba and Brock thing, but that probably be a close second because of what they're able to do with that and how Mexico it went from the Grande Americano, the imposter, if you want to call it, from being a heel to a babyface and like a crazy story, and how a match ended in almost like an enigmatic fashion, like how everything led to another, and how that match was very very good. So
Insane. And one thing I'll say about that, Ludwig Kaiser, or now El Grande Americano, he's now secured in AAA. He's gonna be there. He's gonna be doing his thing. Don't let Chad Gable lose.
the steam,
Yeah, let's get Chad. We saw him on SmackDown. Let's keep him rolling. Don't let him go
exactly,
back to Chad Gable and fuck up and be back to the fucking bottom card. Let's go now.
absolutely, absolutely. They had the opportunity now. He got a huge pop. I know it's European crowd, but still, after the match, those both put on. They are both now have the ability. Like now, El Grande Americano probably is going to win the AAA championship at Triple Mania if it's still Dom Mysterio as the champion. So they have that, and like Chad Gable, he's been in scenarios like this before where he's had high levels of like pop or high levels of momentum. Now it's just capitalizing with him because they kind of laid it flat with him and Gunther when he eventually lost to Gunther, and then they gave that moment to Sami Zayn. Chad Gable's kind of in that situation now where you find a concrete something for him and let him build off of that. So but we're gonna move on to the next match really quickly. We talked because we kind of talked about both of these performers, but we want to talk about the match. Sol Ruca and Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship is exactly what it needed to be. It was a longer match, like we wanted it to be, and when you give them longer time to perform, they did exactly that. And Sol Ruca came out with the win, and now there's so much possibility with her. She already is having her first title fence tonight against Lyra Valkyrie, which is huge. And then this gives the catalyst that we've both been talking about to get Becky Lynch back into the main event scene. The match was everything it needed to be. It was the perfect amount of length, and it made both performers look really good, and their chemistry, I felt, was really locked in and felt fit together more than their Saturday night's main event match that just is a wash and never want to see again.
I totally agree, and I'm glad that this rivalry ended where it ended because I didn't really want to see more matches between these two. So I think it's great. Like you said, put Becky back in the main event. Doesn't mean she needs to win. Just put her back in there, and it both women gain from that match. So Ruka now have her do her thing in the mid card. Have her go up, it's gonna be great. And so Ruka's entertaining when she doesn't botch. So it should be a great time for both competitors. And yeah, let's go. It was a good match too. It was good, way better than the previous. Oof. Okay.
Absolutely. So, but we'll transition off of that. Sorry, we didn't give that much time to. But there's a lot more concrete things that we have to talk about in this main event. Tribal combat. Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu. Roman Reigns retains the World Heavyweight Championship, and the following night, Jacob Fatu has to acknowledge him as the Tribal Chief. Chris, you talked about it earlier in the episode here. What do you want to talk about with this match in particular?
First of all, I actually think that the peak of Cody and Gunther's match was better than the peak of this match. That's what I will say. Maybe because it was the end of the night. I don't know. Um, my main point was I feel as though WWE wanted to give Roman Reigns the victory and have Jacob Fatu acknowledge Roman Reigns because there's and this could be totally out of left field, but it seems to me like there's a special pay-per-view that usually arises that could turn this thing into more of a longer term over the second half of the year type deal, where maybe they can do it later or something. That is Survivor Series War Games. Now you have a new reinstalled version of the Bloodline on Raw, right? You have Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, and Jacob Fatu. Now, you can present them like they did on Raw, present them as strong. Jacob Fatu right behind them, finger up, acknowledgement, boom, right? Now we still see some stuff with him and Jey Uso kind of in turmoil, and that's another story that they're going to tell. But they always use Survivor Series War Games as these big, at least in the past few years, as these big money matches, right? And over the year type things. If the Bloodline isn't together, it doesn't really seem like my thing right now. They might do something Bloodline versus the Vision. I've heard they're trying to. Bring in new Vision members. Okay, they might be doing something with that. Even though I think this Vision thing needs to die, I think they're trying to
You
turn.
realize it's probably going to be Maxine Dupree.
I realize the Vision. Oh gosh, I feel like the Vision is they're trying to make it into like a Judgment Day type thing where they keep bringing in new members and really I think they need to just stop, right?
I
So,
think I like the Judgment Day comparison, but I think their vision of all this was a new generation evolution.
and I don't think it's working out that way at all.
No, because the injuries, but also
That
how they.
they also derailed everything.
Yes.
And the continuing injuries, it's like they have something wrong with they're like it's like freaking I don't know. It's like when Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, they were and they were like putting out magic and messing everybody up. Anyway, my point is I feel like they kept this for Survivor Series War Games. Maybe I'm wrong, it's totally out of left field, but that's the only thing I can think of because like we talked about, Zach, it would have been crazy. As crazy as it was, Jacob Fatu acknowledging Roman. Woo! Imagine Jacob Fatu won the goddamn title. Imagine Roman Reigns had to acknowledge Jacob Fatu. Imagine Jacob Fatu is out here running the Monday Night Raw division, running the Bloodline with Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso behind him, and they're kind of like on the fence. That would have been box office television and probably more of a story to tell. WWE, maybe they didn't want to tell a story so soon, whatever. But I think my opinion, what I see is this new version of the Bloodline staying together all the way through War Games, and from there maybe something happens and we get a split from there. I don't know, but I don't see them breaking up before War Games. I don't see it personally. I think they're gonna maybe have different rivalries. Maybe Jay and Jacob might have a match, but then like something. But I think in totality they're gonna stay together, and that's what I thought of when Roman Reigns won. Because besides that reason, why is Roman Reigns still winning? Why? You could have right? You could have told a Roman Reigns Seth Rollins story without Roman Reigns as the title with the title. Or you could have had Jacob lose and have Roman Reigns win it back, and then do something like that, right? So that's where I stand. Besides that, it was a good match. Um, I think again because of the winner, it was a little flat to me personally, with the way they built up this pay-per-view. Both titles were flat at the end. And the main, like the best matches from the night were in the middle. Were none of the World Heavyweight Championship. The Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill, Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar, even So Ruka, that was a good match. Like, that's where I'll say. I know you have a lot to talk about. I know this was a big deal for you. I know Jacob Fatu was your king. I know Jacob Fatu should have been your new tribal chief. I understand. I'm going to get back, and I'm going to let you go, okay?
I'm gonna start it off like this. You used the word box office when talking about what could have happened if Fatu won the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to use it in the sense of Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, championship or not, is box office, whatever feud you put him in. Think about it. War Games a few years ago, OG Bloodline versus the new form of Bloodline, how that led up to War Games and how Roman Reigns was chasing the Ulafala, not even a championship. Eventually got that back and then was thrown into all that other kind of stuff. That is Roman Reigns. No matter where you put him, championship or not, he is the box office prize, and there's more to do with the box office Roman Reigns without the championship than with the championship. Because this is the way you got to look at things. The only way that I'll feel better about this is if we get Roman versus Seth. If we don't get that, then I'm going to be very pissed throughout the rest of the summer, because that's the only constellation prize that I am willing to accept if that's the case, if Roman retaining the championship. But you said there's so much more to do. Imagine this, Monday Night Raw. Picture this. How Jacob Fatu came out, Roman and the Usos already in the ring. Fatu comes out, then the Usos come out, then Roman comes out, he acknowledges him, and then he said he's taking his break. You did your Oba Femi impression, I'm gonna do my Fatu impression. Where's your punk ass? No, this is my impression. He's like, yo, Roman, where your punk ass going? You get your ass back in the ring. I tell you when you get to leave. Like, just imagine the pop that would have got, and Roman would have been like, and he would just he would have had to. He would have had to get back in the ring and listen to Fatu, and Fatu is unhinged and stuff like that. And to think about it, like just what you could have done with Fatu. You don't even have to have programs with him. Just Fatu coming out as the tribal chief, the Usos having to be by his side, do his bidding for him, and just being that animal that is the tribal chief, and Roman just takes that. Roman is just by his, like, has to be by his side. Just imagine Roman as the side character. We legit have not seen that since his time in the Shield, which is insane. Ever since then, he's been like a main event guy or like the top topic of whatever feud he's been in. To be him as a side character, and then eventually say is taking, like, imagine Roman Reigns instead of Fatu fighting on a nightly basis. Like, Roman Reigns is a guy fighting every night in one-on-one matches, and because Fatu's forcing him as hand, like, imagine the possibility. You talk about it. You have to get past me you have to get past him to get to me. Imagine being that guy, being freaking Roman Reigns, just to get to Fatu Fatu. That would have been absolutely amazing. And then eventually Roman is unhinged because Roman, his life, he wants to be the tribal chief. He has to be the tribal chief. He says, screw this. He takes the time off. Fatu's running the show. Then Roman comes back unhinged. God mode even. Because they said, oh, he went God mode at the end of the match. No, the hell he did not. He just did classic Roman Reigns. Speared him through the table. Did the classic 2020 spear. And just 1, 2, 3, 1. He comes back actually God mode and takes the championship back. That's just what I'm saying. There's so much more layers to this they could have built, and it's simple as this. They say WWE creative. I'm telling you, there was rumors coming about ChatGPT, bro. ChatGPT could have cooked up something better than the vanilla. Understand? Like we talked about this. There's so much more you could damn do with one of the title changes, and they just didn't. Roman Reigns. I am a big Roman Reigns fan. You can see it right here. I didn't even want him to win that match because there's more you can do without him on the championship. We talk about it. main event stars are main event stars for the reason. They built themselves up to be main event stars. When you take the title off of them, they elevate themselves to an even more level because they're chasing the championship. They get those small feuds, and then they are able to build off those small feuds to eventually get back to the main event scene and win the championship they lost and are chasing back to get. And the WWE just didn't do that. In a European crowd that would have got massive pops, Fatu winning the championship, being unhinged, and the crowd would have gone crazy, chanting, imagine the chance of OCC while Fatu's holding the championship over a laid down Roman Reigns. That is ESPN picture, box office. That is the type of stuff you see that is unpredictable, not scripted. Obviously, it's scripted, but the unpredictability of that's where the definition of unpredictability comes out of. And that's where you're like, wow, WWE is actually going out of the vanilla way of things, and they're trying to build something off of that. It's that plan. And I'm going to give you an example. Dominic Mysterio won that Fatal 4-Way when he wasn't favored to win. Obviously, it's one of two things. He's going to get destroyed by Oba Femi, or he's going to have a competitive match. That is unpredictability. That is the type of thing where you're like, wow, WWE actually sees something in that. This was an opportunity to do that such thing, and they did it. And now Fatu. Obviously, you said there's still stuff with him to do, but now he's just going to be the freaking sidekick. He was Solo Sikoa. Are we going to just be like, Roman, I love you? Like, what are we even doing with that? Like, that's what got Jacob Fatu up, and then eventually he turned on Solo, started his solo arc. Then he eventually gets the opportunity to Roman Reigns after beating Drew McIntyre. You have Fatu look like an absolute machine. And now he's just going to be a side character to Roman Reigns, who's going to be not even there tonight. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do with Fatu and the Usos and all that kind of stuff. Because Roman said for Jey Uso, I'll go after Cody Rhodes. Get the fuck out of here. Jey Uso, his championship arc was done. He's a tag team guy for the foreseeable future, from my point of view. There's more you can do with Fatu. That's how I'm going to end it. Fatu, as the tribal chief, as the World Heavyweight Championship, there's more concrete things. There's more unpredictability. And it's WWE not being scared enough to try something new, because it just seems like that is what they're stuck on. They never want to try something new because they're scared of the results. The results are right out there. Fatu is getting over with the crowd. He looked like an absolute machine, even in the American crowds. To do it now, to wrap it up in a European crowd that would have given him a massive pop, would have been a perfect culmination just for Roman Reigns to win it back in a month or two. But they didn't do that. And that's where it frustrates me. There's more you can do, and WWE just did not do that. And that is why they'll never reach that peakness they were in 2024. I think, at least for the next 2-3 years, we'll never see that peak of WWE storyline, that peak of unpredictability, of excitement for the next 2, 3, maybe even damn 5 years.
Whoa! Big Zach came through with the takes. Listen, 100% agree. I think right now Jacob Fatu is now in a box, meaning, like you said, they built him up. He beat Drew McIntyre. They put him as this machine. Now he's kind of sidekick to Roman Reigns, like he was to Solo Sikoa. I love you. It's like now he's in a box. Now his kind of main card title championship times is kind of down now since he lost, and he lost twice to Roman Reigns. So now it's like you've kind of leveled him off when you could have had Jacob Fatu as literally a top company main event guy going crazy with his craziness and just right. So now you've kind of boxed him in. The last thing I'll say is that WWE, we talked about this last time, has issues with doing, what's the word, on the cusp title changes. Title changes only happen now at the big four, and it's usually the big two. It's usually either WrestleMania or SummerSlam. It's like not even the Royal Rumble, not even. It's like if they were to start doing different, not all the time, at different periods of time, impromptu title changes, like they could have done at Clash in Italy, the pop, like you said, that's unpredictability. That's box office ESPN. That's what that is. Instead, Zach, when you have title changes on the same two shows of the year, it makes it less um, it makes the unpredictability less, right? So I think that's just an issue that WWE has to fix. Um, you know, and they need to fix it. Like you said, the Dom Mysterio Fatal 4-Way win was great. It didn't have much stake in it, but it was a good, unpredictable win. Do more stuff like
It
that.
was a good example of what unpredictability in WWE and the impact it could lead to long term.
Boom. And that's where I'll leave it. I'm intrigued to see what Sega Fatu and the Usos do in Roman Reigns' absence. That's what I will say.
I'm going to leave it off on this. The tribal combat match needs to be retired. What's the point of it? Roman's won all damn three of them. What's the point of having it anymore? Retire the tribal combat match. So, but before we wrap things up here, I'm going to ask you about, we talked about it majority throughout this episode. Obviously, we didn't do any predictions because it's been weird with the King and Queen of the Rings. We saw one bracket come out for the men's, then another one come out, but then the one they're showing on Raw is a different one. We know what the matches are. Let me ask you this: who do you think? Who, as of right now, as we know, one matchup for the women's, we're waiting for the other side, and then we know one matchup for the men's, and we're waiting for the other. Who do you ultimately see in both the women's and the men's in your final of King and Queen of the Ring?
In the final,
Yes. By the way, just to remind, so we have
yeah.
the women's side. The right hand side of the bracket is finished. It's Raquel and it's Io Sky to go to the championship, the
Mhm.
finals. Then it's Becky Lynch, Chelsea Green, Alexa Bliss, and Liv Morgan. Then it's going to be on SmackDown: Charlotte, Jade, Sol Ruka, and Lyra Valkyria.
Which that's going to be a good match. What I will say is it's pretty simple for me. I think the finals at the pay-per-view at the King and Queen of the Ring, the King and Queen, the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. It's going to be Io Sky versus Becky Lynch. The men's side is going to be Oba Femi versus Seth Rollins. I think these are the easiest options. I think it's very laid out there. There's nothing else you really can do. And I think it's two good matches. We saw Io Sky versus Becky Lynch on a random episode of Raw a couple weeks ago. It was a good match. Great match. I was like, wow. And that Raw was a great Raw in total. So we can see that again. Boom. Oba Femi versus Seth Rollins. Boom. That's box office. This is going to be Oba Femi's first big match that's not Brock Lesnar, besides Cody Rhodes in the first when that happened. And it'll be his first definitive win over somebody of that caliber that's not Brock Lesnar, right? Because I'm sorry, he's gonna lose. I bet he's gonna lose. My prediction, I'm sorry, my prediction is that he's gonna lose. But remember, I hope he wins. I hope it's with my acting. I hope he wins and then he goes on, but I don't think he's going to win. But that's my hope. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good pay-per-view too. Depending on what else they put on the card. But those two matches to start, box office great. I'll be seated. I'll be watching. Any match with Seth Rollins is box office, and yeah, I'm glad. Listen, Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker was died out for me a little while ago. So, I'm glad that should be done now and we can move on.
I totally agree with both predictions. I think those should be the finals. They make the most sense. It just makes the most sense in the world. Seth versus Oba, kind of like Seth versus Gunther, a thrown together match, an exposition match even, and it could go the length, and then eventually towards the end, that interference comes in and costs the one person the match, setting up that feud, like Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker did, and how Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi should do for the trilogy. It's that simple. And then Io Sky versus Becky Lynch. Io Sky, I will say I would be worried if she were to win because I could easily see her going after Rhea Ripley just because although they might be friends and stuff like that, they've had great matches before and I could see them doing that again.
Yeah.
But then if Becky Lynch wins, you already know who she's going after. So.
Yep.
But to end it all, obviously this has been a long episode, but we had a lot, and I mean a lot to talk about. What was your overall grade? 0 to 10 of Clash in Italy?
6. 6 because of the endings. And that might be a little too cruel. I'll give it a 7 as my final answer, just because the matches in total were pretty good. I just wish the endings could have been different. But 7, 7 out of
Yeah,
10.
I'm going to agree with you. Matches were great. Results could have been better.
Could have been better.
So, but anything else, Chris, you got before we wrap it up here?
Julia's boring to me. I really don't care, but whenever I'm sorry, I'm ranting now. I really don't care when she's on TV. She's just boring. Sorry, Julia. It's not a personal attack to you. This is boring to me. Don't really care. Yeah, that's for some reason that was in my head. I don't know.
You don't like her possibility as a babyface?
No, I just don't care. No.
I will say, Chris, I hope you're ready for the Maxine Dupree attack backstage to get herself into the Queen of the Ring tournament.
Attack? Who's she gonna attack?
I don't know. It's gonna happen, bro. I just have a feeling she's gonna do it, bro. Because she's that new member of the Vision. I'm telling you, this Vision group about to be really.
Vision is dead. I really don't care about the Vision either. Braun Breaker and Austin Theory.
Ron Breaker's lost all his steam. Bro's literally came out with the tag team championship. Like, didn't even win it. Like, it's just him and Austin Theory right now.
Boring.
With Paul Heyman.
Like, Braun Breaker should have been like the next. Maybe he still will be.
He already had a title reign at this point, bro.
Yeah.
They had this steam as soon as Seth Rollins got hurt, and they're like, nah, we'll just give it to CM Punk. Braun Breaker wasn't even in the Battle Royal to face CM Punk. Didn't even get a chance at CM Punk until that first Raw on Netflix, and kind of lost in underwhelming fashion, I thought. So.
Seems like a trend here. WWE tends to struggle to want to strap the belt and create new stars, i.e., Braun Breaker, Gunther, Jacob Fatu. Like, what are we doing here? Let's lock in. Give the people what they want. They better not mess up this Oba Femi. Oba Femi needs the championship in the next 8 months. Let's
Absolutely.
go. So,
Absolutely. So,
can you imagine the tribal chief versus the ruler Oba Femi at WrestleMania? I'm sick.
That'd be sick. That'd be sick. So, but this is all we have for you guys. Obviously, like I said, sorry it's been a little bit longer episode, but we had a lot to break down. You obviously saw towards the end here how I had a lot to say about what WWE could be doing better and how their peakness was lost immediately after, I thought, the Night 2 main event, Cody Roman, the Bloodline Rules match. They've had some peakness, high levels there, but I don't think they're ever going to get that high level, and they could have done that with this Clash in Italy card, and they didn't. So, but this is all me and Chris have for you. Zach and Chris of CWS WWE Breakdown signing out. We'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.